All right, guys. Should we do this? Let's go. Welcome to the Pause, Rewind, Play podcast. We hope you enjoy the show.
All right, welcome to the podcast, everybody. My name is Vince Bradley. I'm going to be the host for today. I'm here with my crew, Josh Whitbank. How's it going, Josh?
Excellent.
I said it wrong again, didn't I? Well, we're running with it. You are now Josh Whitbank. I'm also here with Casey. Casey, how you doing, man?
So good. Living my best life. Ready for this.
Ready for this.
I was born for this. That's what I should say. Good.
Happy to hear it, man. This week's movie, I Am Mother. It is a little deeper than I expected it to be. It's going to be a good conversation. We're going to jump into it in a little bit, but to kind of start off, we're going to talk a little bit about what's in the theaters, what we've been watching, and then get into some non-spoiler territory, and then jump directly into the kind of synopsis of the movie. This week in theaters, we've got Toy Story 4 coming out, and also Child's Play, which seems appropriate that the two toy movies are coming out at the same time.
Someone planned that. I feel like they were like, let's do this so mom and dad and teenagers can go on this one. Then just throw your kids into this other theater. You don't need to be nostalgic about that. We're going to be nostalgic about murdering dolls.
Well, I mean, the entire marketing campaign for Child's Play, right, has been focused around Toy Story 4. Like all of their ads almost pretty much have showed like decapitated toys and like Rex's tail is like taken off or something like that. So
I'm pretty sure the only one that I've seen was Woody being drugged behind the Chucky doll. I mean, it was a cowboy doll that very much looks like Woody being drugged behind a Chucky.
Exactly,
by Chucky,
because they
decapitated.
Can't
God.
do it exactly, but
yeah.
That's
so, do you guys plan on going to see either of those movies?
Toy Story 4. I mean, it's just. I mean, apparently, according to the reviews, it's blowing it out of the water. Apparently, it's from the last time I checked, which was about June 13th. It was sitting at there was 86 reviews, and it was at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow!
So at least every single person, every single critic so far, at least that's seen it, said it is worth your time. So. I think that people, still have a right to be wary about it, another Toy Story film, but I'd say that it'll definitely be worth your time. They say bring the tissues, like you're going to bawl your eyes out again. So, pretty excited.
They've probably been saying similar things about Child's Play, right?
Bring the tissues. I was like, and I want to go to a good slasher. I just want to go see some good old, I don't know, freaky stuff that happens. Like, I don't know, like I want to be creeped out. So Josh wants to go for the good feels. I want to go for the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
But both are great options, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I really don't know if I'll get around to either of them, but I want to see both of them. I'll probably end up seeing Child's Play first just because, like I said a couple episodes ago, love Toy Story. Just kind of, I don't know, feel like there's been a lot. Need a little bit of space before I jump into it.
Yeah. Me too. But I hope everyone who goes and sees Toy Story loves it because it sounds like it's worth it. I read a few things and Josh has been letting me know pretty well, like every time I've seen him this week and in the past couple weeks, that it is doing so well. So probably we'll end up seeing that.
I'm just a person who wants people to see it because I feel like Pixar is going to do a good job. And I mean, I'm not like saying, hey, like we can rely on Pixar no matter what. I'm just,
They've kind of proven we can, though.
Yeah, it's true. They kind of proven we can, and also I just don't want people, because I get it, the whole being wary, and like you can go into it like with caution, and even if you don't like it, that's cool. I just want people to give it a chance, not to just say, hey, I'm not going to see it, like, because I don't want to. I think that's bad.
Yeah, yeah. Go see it. Take your kids. Like Casey said, drop them off, jump in, watch Child's Play, pick them up, go home, compare notes with your kids.
Exactly.
Start a podcast, talk about it.
Exactly. Do everything like that you want. So yeah, that's what's coming out.
Well, cool. All right, yeah, that's kind of what's in theater right now. We are filming or recording this a little bit earlier than we normally do because one of us is going to be out of town on Monday, so we got about a week before those movies come out. In the meantime, what are you guys watching? Casey, you wanna start us off with that?
I've been watching The Office all week, actually. I've just been having one of those weeks where old reliable, as we can call Pixar, right? But The Office, old reliable for some good humor. Been watching a lot of The Office. I didn't really watch. I watched. I watched a lot of Vice this week, like Vice News.
That's kind of appropriate that you've been watching The Office, because this movie is starring Hilary Swank. I watched this movie with Hope, my wife, and there's an entire episode based around, is Hilary Swank hot or not? And that was the first thing my wife asked me when the movie started. Oh, it's Hilary Swank. Is she hot or not? Still don't know. Still haven't decided.
Undecided.
That's still up in the air. It was so interesting that they did that episode of The Office, because you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so true. Her face is symmetrical, but is she hot? So yeah, definitely interesting. So I have been also watching The Office a little bit, but then also been watching some Black Mirror, which nice. I love. Another good, because this film that we're gonna be talking about, I Am Mother, is a Netflix original. Obviously, Black Mirror is as well, and it's one of the series that I think hits it out of the park as far as Netflix goes. I think it's really interesting, and all the dystopian societies and everything like that. I just watched a really good one, which was the Hang the DJ one, which, no spoilers, but it's about like a whole dating, system that's supposed to help you find your true love. It's really, really good. So, and just so you know, if you've never watched Black Mirror, all the episodes are independent of each other, so you can go in and watch any episode you want. I would definitely recommend Hang the DJ. Yeah. It's a good one.
If you haven't watched it at this point, like, where have you been? This show's great.
Exactly.
Get a Netflix account if you don't have one. Borrow your old girlfriend's Netflix account password, whatever, and just start watching it, because it's worth it.
Maybe skip episode 1 and then come back to it later.
Yeah, because you'll be prepared for it later. Yeah. I did almost stop watching after episode 1.
Most people that I talk to kind of have that same reaction, including myself, where it's like, this is what I'm getting into.
So glad though.
I skipped that one. I have yet to watch it. My wife told me about it, and I was like, I'm not willing to watch that, so I didn't.
It's one of the weirder episodes.
So go skip that one. Rewind like 2 or 3. Fast forward a few episodes. You'll be fine.
Yep.
Other than that, love Black Mirror.
Yep. Other than this movie, other than I Am Mother, I went and I saw Dark Phoenix. And hot take, guys, not a very good movie.
I'm sorry to laugh at that.
It's kind of, everyone on the internet's been saying that. I had very low expectations for this movie. It's not as bad as people are saying. Still not a very good movie.
I heard it killed the X-Men franchise, and I'm kind of nervous about that.
Yeah, it made me feel like we need to space it out. The Disney-Fox merger just went through, so X-Men is going back to the Marvel family. Eventually they'll show up in the Marvel universe. I just kind of, after watching that, I'm like, give them some space. Let's take a break from the X-Men for a while. Come back to them once we kind of forget what a mess that series was. But it was fine. It wasn't the worst of their movies. It wasn't the best of their movies. It was just kind of there. It's just kind of forgettable in my opinion.
But I heard the movie overall was a little bit of a catastrophe. But Sophie Turner's acting redeemed something.
Yeah, she was great in it.
Okay.
Yeah, she was good.
That's what I heard. Sorry, I bring up Sophie T just because I'm just finishing Game of Thrones,
Mm-hmm. That was one of the things, sorry, just to wrap this up, that was one of the things that threw me off the most was when she very first started talking, I expected that English accent to come out. And she talked with an American accent, and it was weird. It took me a little while to wrap my head around it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just used to her from Game of Thrones with that British accent. So, anyway, that wraps up movie news and movie trailers and everything. So we can kind of jump into the movie.
Let's do it.
All right. So, like we said, this week's movie is I Am Mother. It is on Netflix. It was directed by Grant, and I'm gonna butcher this name. Sputor. I don't really know how to say that.
His name.
Yeah, he's a first-time director, as far as I could tell in my really in-depth search of IMDb. Kind of an interesting little tidbit that I read on there. He's never directed a movie before, and he came from commercials. So
he came from commercials, and if what I read, because I checked a couple different websites, it looks like he's directed a couple episodes of like weird TV shows that I've never heard of, but like nothing ever.
That makes more sense, because going from 30-second, 2-minute commercials to a feature film of this, like this.
That was a long movie.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
good for him. The guy's talented.
It's definitely hard. The only person I've ever heard doing that before, and I don't even remember his name, is if you guys ever saw Searching, the movie. That guy that guy did Google commercials, and then he just went straight to the film, which is worth saying, by the way. But sorry, let's get back into.
No, I love those kind of facts.
Greg's.
I guess we can get to kind of more of that in the fun fact section. So yeah, directed by Grant Sputor, starring Hilary Swank, Clara Rugard Larson, and Rose Byrne. I am tearing up these names tonight. The movie was released on June 7th, 2019 on Netflix, but it actually premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2019, where Netflix decided that it was good enough to buy. And they made a good choice on this movie. I really liked it.
I agree.
So yeah, what do you guys think? Let's kind of jump into the non-spoiler section of the podcast. Just give me your very first thoughts. Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Oh, sorry. Let's go into the plot first.
So yeah,
Josh, you
so
wanna
like
explain the
a little
plot
bit
first?
about the plot is obviously, if you watch the commercial or even, because it's been one of those featured films. So if you've pulled up Netflix to watch The Office or whatever, you've probably at least seen a little bit. It's basically about, it's another dystopian society in the future where, humans have become extinct. And basically there's this facility where there's a robot who ends up being mother, right? Who has embryos for babies, and basically she grows the baby and she raises, a human child as her own, as to sort of be like the new future for the world. And it teaches the baby what, it needs to do, and it teaches it ethics and a ton of different things. But then someone shows up, and so it sort of makes the child, who's, 17 by the time, question, hey, like, what's going on? Is like this robot actually being completely truthful with me? Because I thought I was the last person in the world. This person shows up. What's going on? Mm-hmm. So, super interesting.
From the trailer, I kind of expected this to be more of a horror movie than it is. It's more of a thriller, but it definitely kind of built up that tension. It did a really good job in a couple of those scenes that kind of like really made you kind of stress out and wonder where it's going to go, who's going to turn on who's going to attack who.
I like how you said tension, because that was definitely like what I felt. That's what you're supposed to feel, because that's what, the main character, who, by the way, none of them ever have any names. Like one of the main characters, who is daughter, right? Mm-hmm. That's what like she feels throughout this whole time, is it? She feels this tension because she feels the connection, to this robot who has raised her, who is quite literally her mother, and, someone of her own race who's, pulling her to be in society, or just with her, who is another, actual human. I don't know. Casey, what do you think? Did you feel that tension? How did you feel that went?
I felt the tension quite a bit, actually. I moved around. I ended up I'm pretty good at sitting in mostly one position, one relaxed position throughout any film. And this one had me moving about, changing position, because you move along, and I think I always mention this, you move along in the journey with this. I like that. I like feeling whoa, this is legit. This is happening. I could experience this, right? And I like that a lot. And I felt that, and I'm not trying to go into spoilers, right? And so I'm trying to hold back my opinion, right? But the way that they portrayed it, the way they built the story, was incredibly smart. It was just very well, it was a step, and we hit that point where we're on the landing now. Let's keep going, So it was good. And for some people, I know it's my wife watched it with me. She felt like it was a little bit long to tell the story, but I feel like the way that they told the story, albeit might be long for some folks, it really helps you build and kind of comprehend the actual situation.
For sure. Yeah, so you want to jump right into the spoiler section? Kind of really get in here? Got anything else you want to say? We want to recommend the movie? I'd say definitely check it out.
Yeah, so I would definitely say recommend it. And I guess something else we can say without spoilers is I thought that it was a super smart idea, and I was reading a little bit about it today before the podcast, that they decided, to have this robot be all real. They built the robot, and it was, none of it was CGI, and they had 3 people acting because
they had to have a little bit of CGI in there, though, didn't they? Like when the robot was running, that kind of stuff.
when the robot was running, no, there was a
actually
guy.
him.
So there's a
Did
guy
they just
in the
kind of
suit.
speed it up or something?
Yeah, so probably sped it up, and he was
Cool.
pretty good at moving pretty mechanically. But then also, I thought, well, like the face, the guy can't be like, doing things with his face. They had someone who, while the scene was going on, remote controlling the face.
That's so cool.
And its features.
I thought it was like a Boston like Dynamics or whatever that is, the Robo Dog company. I thought it was maybe like one of their robots that like advanced. I was like,
it was actually, I looked it up. It was actually the Weta Workshop who did it. Who everything good comes from them.
oh.
So yeah, they nailed that, and I think that's what gives the movie more of a sense of realism, right? Like you actually feel like this facility exists, that this robot exists, that it's somewhere that you could actually go to and visit, and it gives it more of a tangible feel.
Exactly, and it feels so real. That's what the director said. He said that this robot is one of the leads of the movie. Like we can't just CGI the whole thing. He's like, that's not going to work. And so he said, I'm really glad that we did that. And also just, to make sure that we don't shortchange anyone, to give a shout out to, Luke Hawker. He was the guy who was actually in the robot suit for the movie. So even though he's not like, like the voice or anything, he is one of the actors as well who did the robot.
And he did really well. Like his movements looked very robotic. Every even turn of the wrist or something looked as if it was, something that a reaction that type of being would make. So
yeah, I had no idea that there was like a person in there. That's amazing.
Shout out to the guys in the suits, right? Like who have made all of our childhoods and adulthoods be better through movie acting and stuff like that. The guys behind the masks who often don't get the credit they deserve. It's like, oh, Robot Man. But no, like really, I can't imagine like being in those suits is probably like sweaty, uncomfortable, and hot, right? And like those guys are acting like peak acting. Like you have to be a good actor, I think, to be able to act well in like a suit like that, because you have to like move effectively and like you said, like he had to have, I think you both said like realistic movements. Like he had to make sure he knew what he was doing, and I give him props. I give people props who could do that.
Yeah, and they said the director in one of like the interviews that I read that he was talking about it, he said, shout out to this guy, he was like, we made the suit and then we realized that it was a little bit small, and so the guy had to like lose a little bit of weight, and so he like gave up like beer and pizza for like the running of the film so that he could fit in that. The director was like, if I had to give up beer and pizza, he's like, we never would have made the movie.
that seems like the running trend for these kind of movies, because they had the same problem with the original RoboCop suit, where the guy went through all this training to in how to act like a robot, and then they ended up getting the suit on the day of shooting, and he didn't fit in it. Or he fit in it, but it was super tight, and he couldn't, like, the range of motion was so limited that he had to completely forget everything they had practiced and just wung it. I don't know. Really? It's just hard to plan for these kind of things, right? Those guys are awesome.
Yeah. Shout out. One last shout out, those guys. I think we're ready to move beyond the spoil-free sections. What do you guys think?
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm ready.
So, yeah, what did you guys like the most about the movie?
We should probably say spoilers ahead. No one listen beyond this if you're not ready for spoilers. Now, okay, we can go. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to start it off, actually. We're going to start with favorite scenes. My favorite scene was when Hilary Swank first shows up. The daughter has been kind of, she's been going through all these tests, and mother has been trying to, spoiler for the end of the movie, she's trying to grow the perfect human.
Yeah.
And so she's putting her through all these tests. The only person she's ever met is the robot, when all of a sudden a human comes knocking at the door in the middle of the night. And the reason that this part of the movie is, this scene from the movie is my favorite, is like I was talking about earlier, that sense of kind of the suspense, the thrill of it, of what's behind the door, what's going to happen as she looks through. And I kept expecting like a face to pop up in the window or something and make me jump, and it never happened. It just kind of built that suspense up, and then paid off with Hilary Swank coming in. I thought it was really, really well done.
Well, to branch off that and to kind of, I love that scene as well. But what I was thinking personally was, I wonder what, like, because in my mind, right, we're building up to this moment, like the daughter has been led to believe that like there's some sort of nuclear fallout or something, like the world has changed, right? That's why humans don't exist out there anymore. And so I'm expecting like Fallout morphed folks. Like that's what I'm expecting.
Kind of like mutant,
yeah,
knocking at the door,
and, like out there, or like someone with like extreme radiation burns or something, right? Because when she finds this mouse at the beginning, like at first I was like, that thing's gonna have like 4 tails or something like that. It's gonna be different, and then like it builds it up to where you're like, oh, it's an actual human, and they're not like out there. Like it's still like it's a person. It's like someone you might see on the street in distress, and so it was like, whew. I love that, and I like the build up to it a lot. So, well, good call.
And throughout that whole movie, they kind of like build up that tension. It starts there, you know. Everything is kind of this lovey-dovey relationship between mother and daughter until Hilary Swank shows up and starts making the daughter question everything that's going on, but also you as the audience. You know, every time that mother says something to daughter, Hilary Swank has something to counter that. Starting with, oh, I got shot by a robot that looks exactly like her. I've seen these robots destroy the entire world. I do not trust this robot. She's manipulating you. Mm-hmm. And us as an audience who's seen this little girl grow with mother, with this robot, it makes us question, you know, is she telling the truth? What's really going on? Is she just trying to kind of protect herself because she's stuck in this building with this, she believes, killer robot, so she'll say whatever she can to the daughter in order to get out safe, to get healed and get out of there safe. And that sense of tension and that mystery is just so perfectly done throughout the whole movie. Up until almost the end, you're questioning what's going on.
That's like that's what I loved about it, is like the whole part of the movie where, I mean, for me, especially personally, I just know that I was bouncing back and forth. I was like, oh, all of a sudden this chick shows up, she says these things. Like, mother's like super evil. She just like wants to kill everyone, and she's crazy. And then, you know, mother says some stuff, and Hilary Swank's character, you know, does some other things. And I'm like, oh wait, maybe she just has like bad intentions, and mother is like trying to save her, and the outside world is just like freaking crazy. Mm-hmm. And I bounce back and forth between the whole thing. And what it really comes down to is the whole, I mean, and if we apply it to, you know, what we could look at modern day, not to move away from favorite scenes, but just to look really quickly into like one of basically the main themes of the movie, is if we look at artificial intelligence and trust. Like, can you ever really 100% put your trust in artificial intelligence? Because this little girl, daughter, she has literally grown up with this robot that has raised her, that has cared for her, in a sense, you know, with quotation marks, her entire life. And so if there was anyone who could be able to trust a robot, it would be her. And so it throws her into that situation with someone who's been given like the ability to trust artificial intelligence. Will she trust that, or will she go back to someone of her own kind? Like, what happens there? And so I think it's so interesting, the tension bouncing back and forth, seeing what is really going to happen there. So
oh yeah,
loved it. So good.
And that's what I loved about this movie, is it's such a small contained story, but it brings up these giant like questions in your mind while you're watching the whole thing. Can someone trust an AI over their own race if they never met them? What makes a perfect human being? Is it the whole nature versus nurture question? You know, like this robot is trying to essentially breed the perfect human, a better breed of human. Can she do that with? I mean, her mentality is all ones and zeros. It's code. It's A plus B equals C. Can you make a perfect human like we can make a perfect robot just by using these patterns, you know?
I was wondering that, actually, because my wife in the middle of the movie, she's like, what would you do if your mom was a robot? Kind of like very sarcastically. I was like, well, my life would be a lot of ones and zeros, which is like, there is yes or no, right? It's like, does this work? Yes. Does this work? No. Then they go back to how does it work? How do we get to what we want? And I was thinking about that, because as you see like the robot, and like what we know now is that the robot designed the facility themselves. They took care of like collecting the samples of the embryos, right? And like protecting the facility and sanitizing it and setting up this ideal place for growth for these children and these people, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, these are ethics, and these are my ethics. So it is teaching the child it's ethics, not necessarily the ethics so you can go out on the street and learn, right? Or you're taught in a home. It's like, this is what I believe. If one person comes in who's sick and there are 4 who are sick but need the organs of the other person, we sacrifice the one for the 4. And like, that was like I was like, whoa.
Well, and so that's what I wanted to get into, not to cut you off, Casey, because that was, as we're talking about favorite scenes, that was probably my favorite scene of the entire movie, because that was before Hilary Swank's character showed up. That was the first time that I actually started to question the intentions of Mother, because this is the first time you see them in school and they're learning things, and they come in and she says, hey, here's this scenario. You have 5 people who need organ transplants. One person comes in who's pretty sick, who's probably going to die, but you could still try and heal them at least. But if you try and heal them, they're going to die. They're not viable to give up these organs. Like, what do you do? And what I thought was interesting is that because of where their conversation leads them, you never actually get what the answer from the robot is. But I don't want to say we can presume, but we can think that the robot, because it has been literally programmed to maximize human feeling and human life and everything like that, that in this new world, they're going to breed a human that believes that it is ethically correct.
Which is kind of the answer to her question, right? To what she believes. By the end of the movie, you kind of get the answer. That answer is that Mother believes that humanity got to a point where it was too corrupt, that
unsalvageable.
We didn't deserve to live anymore, and that her, in her infinite goodness, would put an end to it and restart the population for the greater good of humanity. So that brings up my question. Do you guys believe that what Mother did is she evil? I guess is my question. Is she an evil robot, or does she kind of have a point?
She's like the Thanos of this movie. I don't know how to say any other, because they talk about environmental issues. They talk about like corruption and greed. Like, it's not like the outline. She's like, don't be corrupt, don't be greedy. But like, you can tell like that's the underlying thing. And then, in the end you find out this is the decision that I made for the world, to reset things and to build a world where X, Y, and Z, right? And there will be more people. It'll be a more viable place for everyone. Like, we'll have food, we'll have everything.
So here's my thoughts, is that Mother, in like a weird, dark, and twisted way, Mother is not evil at all. Number one, with her intentions, because she's a robot. She has no feelings. She is doing quite literally what she is programmed to do. If the people who made the artificial intelligence programmed her to maximize human happiness, like, as weird as it is, like, those are the people who are evil, even if it's not intentional. Like, they program something that would do whatever it takes, like, not to like throw an Avengers thing in there, like we were just talking about Thanos or whatever.
Well,
but
I was just gonna throw in a Tron reference, right? Like, to build the perfect system. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, I have created the perfect system for you, Flynn. Aren't you happy? I'm sorry, I wanted to throw that in.
No, but exactly, like, that's just what it is that, even though we may say, hey, she's evil or she's not evil, she did something that was really necessary, it's program, it's code, it's not a real person. And so no matter how we look at it, it's just the artificial intelligence. It's what the humans decided to do in this reality.
Didn't she mention, though, that, like, when I outgrew or, like, realized that my masters were wrong, doesn't she kind of mention, like, a point, like, while she's talking to daughter, that like, like, when I saw that my creators were wrong, like, I exterminated them or like removed them from the equation?
She does.
And they also explore that towards the end of the movie. Again, I keep jumping to the end of the movie, but with daughter, and that's another thing. Another one of my favorite scenes was it's a very quiet moment at the end when Mother has her last moment with woman, Hilary Swank's character, in that on that beach
container.
In the shipping container, where she walks in and she's looking at kind of the Christian, the photos of Mary and all that kind of stuff, and she's talking to Hilary Swank, saying things like, I just spaced it. She says, it's almost as if you have a purpose, and it was really interesting to me, because it kind of it made me question, like, did she know? I mean, she didn't know that Hilary Swank was in that exact location, but she had to know that there were people out there, and she had to have that intention to bring someone back to meet daughter, or to create some sort of scenario that kind of prepared daughter to take over what she had started.
But so here's my question, and this is, maybe I misunderstood or thought of something wrong, but the way that I looked at it, and from the numbers and the way I looked at everything, is that it looks like to me that the robots wiped out everything, and daughter in this movie, they have their codes and stuff. She is APX-03. Right? And when she goes and she's during that part where Hilary Swank tells her to investigate more and all this stuff, she looks and she finds like the ashes in the buried body of like a child, right? Who when she looks at like the test results, because she still mother's like fingerprint or whatever, is APX-02. So my question, what I thought, and I just want to like check with you guys, is that Hilary Swank is APX-01. Because at the very end, when she's talking to her and she's like, it was almost like you were left for a reason, because mother was like I could have like killed you if I wanted. I don't think there's anyone else. I don't think there's no one in the mines. I don't think there's anything like that. I think it's just Hilary Swank.
But Hilary Swank has drawn these pictures of these people that she used to know, she says. That's the only hole in that theory that I can think of, that she says she's met people before.
She says she's met people, but I mean, they have media from the past world. She watches the Tonight Show and everything like that. Not to say that she couldn't, even if she's not drawing specific people, just the idea of a person that she knows what other people look like.
That's it. Because I had that same idea. Sorry to cut you off, just to wrap that up. I had that same idea that maybe that was the case, but I don't know. I just never really ran with it like that.
Because that's cool. That's where I got. Sorry, not to cut off Casey. Just to finalize.
You can't talk, Casey.
We're here. To finalize this little thought that we've had, is that's why I thought mother came in at the end and she was like, I could have killed you if I like wanted and stuff. Like. Like, we knew how to find you and stuff. Like, it's almost as if someone, kept you around for a reason. So I think that mother was just, her, artificial intelligence is so advanced that she knew, like, the course of action that would have to be taken for the perfect human to be created. And I think it was that this first human would have to be created, think the monster's evil, escape, and then come back.
Once she had a daughter that was to that point where she was passing that morality clause, she went out, corralled Hilary Swank to the exact location she needed her to be, or Hilary Swank could have known that facility was already there. Well, I don't know, because we go ahead, Casey. You're biting your finger.
I'm just like getting excited about this. Sorry, guys. So looking at this, at the beginning of the film, right, they show days since extinction, right? Number of humans on the Earth,
right,
which is 0, and then
drops to nothing.
Once the girl becomes kind of older, we get into like, it's like the thousands of days, like, and so my wife looked at the math, and I can't remember how many thousand days it is, but it's like 40 some odd years.
Yeah, I think it was 39.
Yeah, something like that. And Hilary Swank's character is like probably around that age. And if, for instance, these robots, like, think about it when daughter goes back. Do you remember all the lasers and all the robots like ready to destroy her? There's no way Hilary Swank could have survived without mother letting her at that point.
Right.
Because I think I agree. Like, I think that Hilary Swank is one. Like, she is the original OG, because like she's, she says, "Oh, I'm surprised you've survived this long," like, type thing. Like, as if she turned her loose and was like, "Run, wild animal, get out of here. Like, you're not gonna survive." And then she like.
But she also conserved her for this moment.
Yeah, because daughter needs the ethics test.
I love this idea. I feel like there's too many holes in it. Like the mine, which you the people in the mine, which you can kind of work around. But the fact that she didn't recognize the facility when she got there, she didn't recognize mother as being a nurturing, friendly robot. Like, wouldn't she have the memories of
what
these
if
things?
Mother was different though?
That she raised her in like a different facility.
At one point where she's like, I only one at a time so I can learn. So what if she was like an abusive beast? The first time, the second time a little bit better, but still ended up killing the second child. And the third one, she's like, I'm gonna be overly soft and tender and go from there.
Now, see, I think that she was doing what she could because she escaped from the facility and she thought it was the best thing for her. I think she was probably doing what she needed to get into the mind of the daughter, to get her out of the facility. So that was my thought when I watched it, because I sort of, when I went along and I watched it, or like thought about it again afterwards and watched certain scenes, I thought that she was doing it. But I also like, because I also did it and I didn't see it in Hilary Swank's acting. And that's sort of something that I mentioned in my notes for who I was talking about, like what I liked, what I didn't like about acting. I was like, okay, if this was true, if she really did know Mother, like, there's nothing there. Like,
yeah,
even like, because I don't want it to be super obvious because that would just, give away a whole ton of the plot. But there's like nothing. She really is just like, oh my God, there's a droid in here. Like, we're going to die. So,
what did she call them? Dozers?
The dozers, yeah.
What if Hilary Swank's character has like a TBI or something? I don't know. Like, and also, like, I'm not saying like that's it, right? But like maybe she's forgotten something. Maybe I don't know. But also, that place could technically be a mine. It's underground. Like, it's a bunker that's underground, that's built underground. Maybe at one time within that complex there were actual people, and then she wiped them out. And maybe that's what she's talking about, because she's like, oh, where are the mines? I want to go to the people. I want to find them. And she's like, you wouldn't like what they were doing there. So what if Mother had like got these people to be like a cult followership of her? They're working underground, and then Mother kills them. She escapes. That's how it kind of goes. That's just a thought. It's a theory, right? It's just an idea.
And again, this is what makes it such a good sci-fi movie. Yeah. I mean, it's a good movie in general, but sci-fi just, it makes you think. And this movie does such a good job at that. It just opens like all these ideas that you can like run on each of these threads and explore, and we could talk about each one of these things for an hour,
It's true. Well, I yeah, like you're saying, I could talk about this for a while longer because I'm pretty enthused about it, but we should probably carry forward.
I think it's so interesting, like, not to jump completely off it, but just the whole Mother wanting to create the perfect being. You think about the education that she's giving her, and it seems like a pretty, viable education in terms of what we learn these days with the medical training and the ethics training and everything like that. I just thought it was super interesting that this assessment that she, took, the exam, was so interesting. I paused it and I looked at the questions pretty close, and some of the questions that she was answering weren't necessarily about intelligence as much as they were about her feeling like a normal person, like having extensive training on the ethics and everything that the robot Mother wanted her to have, but also making sure that she was still human and not programmed almost to be like a specific being like the robot was. Like, some of the questions are, I often feel misunderstood. I sometimes think about things too bad to talk about. Like,
and that was interesting. Like that. Her answer with that too was like, she answered like honestly, like, yes, that was one of the things. Yeah. Whereas if she was like trying to kind of hide, like if she was trying to answer the way that she expected Mother to answer, probably would have gotten her killed. So it's kind of an honesty test at the same time.
And then also that part of the exam was just showing images of certain things that existed in the world, before, that she might know about from learning, and it would just record her response, like her facial response, I'm guessing, because it would just show the quick image and then it would say response detected, and it would show the quick image and response detected, and that was part of the exam. So that's just how you know that like the robot is training, and Mother wants her to be this specific person because it wants her to react certain ways to certain things. And I don't know, I just think it's super intricate that the closer you look at it, the more you learn, and it's amazing.
And it's cool that even after she has created this, I mean, we talked about it's how she's an AI, and she just, you wouldn't expect an AI to have to rely on hope, I guess, in the end. But that's what she ends up having to do, is once she raises daughter to be the best that she can be, she leaves daughter to raise the kids, trusting her, hoping that she will raise this better group of humans, that will progress, and she will be out there in the background, kind of always helping. But she did seem to just go off, be like, okay, I'm going to re-terraform the earth. I'm going to leave you here. I trust you, my daughter that I raised, to raise the rest of these kids, to do your best to make a better form of human.
Gosh, so interesting. Sorry, just thinking about that. The very end of the movie is just amazing. I don't know, Casey, what did you think about that very last part where Mother, it was just sort of a symbolic thing that the daughter shot her, showing that she didn't need that, AI anymore to guide her. But what did you think about, her being left to take upon that role?
That's a big question, actually. I was wondering about that because I don't actually know the age of the kid, right? I'm not really sure. Like, is she
it never really says. I don't
14, 15? Well, she has a birthday. We know that, but like, how old is she? And so, but what's really interesting is looking, and we're going back to like the testing here for a minute, is she got only like, it was a 97% on the test, so she wasn't like perfect. So she still, like, you know, she was honest and she was real, but there was some things she wasn't quite there on. And she's like, oh, we'll review your test results later, right? Mother was. And now she has brother, you know, baby brother. And so think about this, though. She is going to raise one kid to be however old it is until she, like, hatches a new kid. And she's going to have to repeatedly hatch these kids. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how ever better you want to say it. And what's interesting is these are grown in 24 hours. So it's not like 9 months that they're stuck in these little pods and growing. It's like, it's just like throwing an easy bake oven, throwing some bread in an easy bake oven, right? It's like, big baby. And that's a really curious thing to like have the confidence as that AI thing to say, okay, this child or adult, young teenager, right? It's got it. Like, that's the nerve. Like, I was just thinking about like me as a person, like, I'm not ready for a kid, and this person is like ready to reestablish the human race. But what she knows though is, I have food, I have shelter essentially, and I have the tools I need. So she knows her way around things. And so going into the permissions and stealing mother's fingerprint thing, is everything unlocked to her now? Does she have full access to everything?
Yeah, I'd assume so.
Is she gonna have that mantle as well to like, if you fall short of the mark, is she gonna have to terminate up? Like, I'm just curious, like, where is this all going?
Yeah,
Sure.
it leaves it open like that,
which I think is smart, and I think that it doesn't require anything else. I think it's so smart that it leaves it up to us to think about it and to sort of reason within our brains. I've seen, you know, looking up the hashtag on Instagram and Twitter, a lot of people talk about it, you know, who either saw it at Sundance or have watched it recently, wanting a sequel. And I wouldn't be about that. I think it'd be so,
I don't think I would either.
Out of place. I think it'd be so, there's a reason that it's left up to you to think about it, to logic within your brain. So I would say, I adored the movie, I'd say please no, because that would take away from what they've given us to think about.
Definitely. So yeah, we all have great feelings like about this movie. It's a great movie. Is there anything in the movie that you would change? Any nitpicks you guys have?
There is like one that I want to be just ever so slightly different, and it revolves around Hilary Swank's character. Like, I think that there could have been a better story for her. Like, she has a pretty good story, right? We don't know about enough of it, but she has these theories and these ideas, and she has these experiences she's trying to share with the girl. But I want her to be more open. Like, that was my thing, and I was like, well, say more. Like, you've given us names of people. You've, like, what did you do? Like, how do you know about, you know, what was that show? What's the classic late night talk show? Johnny Carson? Like, you know about Carson. Like, what happened to your family? What happened to your parents? Like, how did the world change? Like, she never really mentions that. She says, oh, the dozers, right? I got shot by a dozer. Like, oh, you have a dozer. It's not operating. I mean, I'm going to sleep. But I want more from her. That's all that I want, really. That's all I really want.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think I loved the tension and the idea of the trust, you know, the internal struggle of daughter throughout the whole film. And I felt like it was brought up in the conclusion in a strong way, and she decided, you know, that even though mother would still be there, that she was going to live on her own, and she was going to start the human race. And while mother was influential to her in bringing her to that point, you know, she was going to make it on her own. I just feel like the last 20 or so minutes of the movie, while still excellent and gave us, you know, it was a good conclusion, I just feel like some of the tension that it was building to was lost. Yeah. Like, there wasn't like a really like clear, I don't want to say like there wasn't a clear like finale, like deciding moment, because I don't want it to be, I mean, because I had like the point where she shot her and everything like that, but I just felt like the conclusion could have been just a little bit better. And I mean, like I'm saying, it's a really small thing because I still loved it and I thought that the conclusion was smart. I just felt a little bit unsatisfied, but it's a small nitpick for a movie that I adored.
Yeah, and I think I get what you're saying. It's not so much the conclusion of the movie, it was just kind of how they got to that point, for me anyway. It was it just kind of lost that momentum that it kind of built, and it kind of ebbed and flowed throughout the whole movie. The momentum where it was like I would get super into a scene and then I would kind of sit back. It was kind of this slow burn type of movie. It's not a big deal. It was still great, but there's a few times where I kind of felt myself looking around the room, getting distracted by little things that were happening in my house. That in the like best scenes, the most intense scenes, I never would have noticed. Yeah. So I don't know if I would call it maybe a pacing issue for me or something, but it's such a minor nitpick that if I wasn't looking for something to bring up in this part of the podcast, I probably wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely. Who did you guys like acting wise?
Who stood out?
Disliked.
I want to go off of what you were saying just barely, Casey, saying that you wanted more Hilary Swank. I think that the standout character for me was probably Daughter. I think she did so well in it, but I want Hilary Swank in the next Terminator movie so bad. She proved, I mean, this is a robot movie, but her look, her attitude, the way she reacted to things, like she's kind of a badass woman, like she'd be able to stand toe to toe with a Terminator in the Terminator series. So I just got to give her like that honorable mention, like good job. You found your next niche. Niche.
I don't know.
Jump into that Terminator series. Let's see it in a sequel.
And while I would love to see that, and I almost feel bad about it because she was obviously the standout actor that they were happy to get. I would actually disagree a little bit. I found it sometimes Hilary Swank's acting, to me personally, was a little bit annoying. Yeah. Like, I know it sounds strange, but like when she first got there and she was like talking about the dozer and when she shot it and when the dozer was around, I get that she's afraid of it and everything. Just her reactions and her screaming and the heavy breathing and everything like that. At times I just found it like, I would just sort of like roll my eyes, like I'm like, come on, like Hilary Swank, like you're better than this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, that was just a personal thing for me. I would just give it, for me, it's hands down to Daughter, Clara Rugard.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
definitely.
so you said that.
I just shout out to Hilary Swank, get a Terminator.
Get a Terminator, get it. And I think that she could do that as well. I just think for me, like Hilary Swank, I was less on a high, but we'll ask Casey if he agrees, but for me, Clara Rugard, she's pretty new. She hasn't been in a lot of things. I don't remember. I looked her up, but I forgot if she was in much of anything, but she was amazing. Standout performance. I thought it was incredible. Casey.
So obviously props to Daughter, props to that actress. Like that would be a hard role to step into, right? As your first potentially major role, because you're acting and you're trying to show emotion and an actual attachment to a non-warm feeling being, essentially one that is only voice and minimal expression, right? But I liked the voice actress for Mother, and like I said, the actor for the body. I thought that was standout for me. And I know that this sounds silly that I was like, oh yeah, I choose the robotic thing. But I feel like the voice actor and like the expression and the way that things were worded with that, like tried to give more life and warmth to something that like I feel cold towards. Like naturally, like there is nothing in this world that you give me to do to hug a robot. Like, but like the voice and the reassurance and the ability to do that, mad props to that. Was for me, that's where I stand with it.
So kind of a team, a dual standout, the voice actor and their stand-in, their double. So it was Rose Byrne.
Rose Byrne and Luke
and
weird shirt, whatever his name is, Luke something.
Yeah, like two thumbs way up from me for that duo.
No, I definitely agree as well. That I didn't mention her, but I thought the same thing where it was a robot, but like they made it to be, it was a loving robot. Where even though it was just code, that it had motions and the voice could be different depending on its mood and everything like that. So just, to be able to master that on just a vocal level. And then also, of course, put it together with the physical movements of the character and the robotic movements of the face. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Well, just a couple of my final thoughts here. This movie was awesome, and they did it so well. And even my older sister ended up watching this movie and called me the next day asking me if I had seen it because she wanted to talk about this movie. And this is someone who doesn't very often get to sit down with her two girls. She doesn't often get to sit down and watch something. Mm-hmm. But this made such an impression on her that she was like, I want to live in this world a little bit longer, explore these ideas, just kind of, yeah, like I said, like live in it, just be in it more. So I don't know, I guess my final thoughts is go see this movie. I mean, it's such an easily accessible movie. Go check it out. It's definitely worth it.
I mean, I completely agree. You should definitely give this movie, a listen. I was talking with a few coworkers today just about, things. We were shooting the breeze, and they were talking about movies, if I had seen Aladdin and things like that. I'm like, yeah, I saw Aladdin, and it was good, and these different things. I'm like, but, like, have you guys, like, seen, like, the ad or whatever for I Am Mother? They're like, oh, I've seen that pop up on Netflix. So, like, it's a Netflix original, so who knows? And I'm like, watch it. Like, I don't want to, be that person to, like, hype you up super hard and then maybe you don't like it, but it is worth it. And if you love, like, for some people it's slow paced, for other people, they like it a little bit slower paced, but it's not, like, extremely slow. Like, I think that you'll love it, and I think that, even if you don't absolutely adore it, you'll find redeeming things and you'll be thinking about it for a long time afterwards. Definitely one of the best sci-fi movies you'll watch this year, if not the best. So I love it.
Yeah, going along with kind of the remarks that have been made, it's an extremely accessible film. If you personally don't have a Netflix account, just phone a buddy, phone a friend, right? And get there and enjoy it. I would say, like, prepare yourself to be aware that there are some sections that move a little slow, but if, you can sit through and kind of piece together and kind of think about it a little bit, you'll be able to really enjoy this movie. So don't throw it under the rug because it sounds a little bit long. Throw it in your queue to watch because it's worth the story and the build-up and the suspense and the emotion that you are able to invest into it. So I recommend it to anyone who wants to just take a moment and have something to think about, because afterwards you'll be able to have a conversation much like this one and maybe even a little bit deeper, to where it's like, oh, yeah, I need more movies like that, or more like in-depth conversation that comes from movies along with that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, those are kind of our thoughts on I Am Mother. Definitely check it out. It's a great movie. Next week, Casey, you want to introduce us to what we're going to be watching?
Yes, I would love to. And I'm very excited about this one because we're going to be watching Baby Driver.
Woot!
I don't know who knows about this or doesn't know about this. This is probably one of the more enjoyable kind of, like, I'm not going to throw spoilers in there, but right, it has cars, machine guns, and John Hamm. I need not say more other than that, to be honest, because
you also have to mention the soundtrack to this movie. This movie is so much fun to watch. If you haven't seen Baby Driver yet, watch this one. Come back next week. We're going to be gushing all over this one.
Yes. I'm right there with you. I forgot the soundtrack, and yeah, I'm way excited about this. So everyone who's listening to this and wants to watch it and join in with us on your thoughts, please do, because I want to know.
Okay, cool. I think that wraps it up. You guys have any last thoughts you wanna bring up?
No, thanks so much for listening to us.
Okay.
You can find us, on Twitter. You can find me at ShortYoshi127. Love to hear your thoughts. I'm posting about movies all week, so let me know.
Also, you can find me on Twitter at I am Casey Lee, and I'm gonna post nothing but Baby Driver things all week. That's my goal for the week, is at least 2 posts about Baby Driver all week.
Love that. Oh, awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys. My name is Vince Bradley. You can find me at Vince Bradley on Twitter. I'll try to be a little more active.
Did you post anything last week? I'm just curious.
I did. I posted a couple of things. The Dr. Sleep trailer I posted. I think that's about it, though. I think I posted something about Dark Phoenix on there too. I just had to shout out to the world how mediocre that movie was, how forgettable that movie was, and apparently Twitter's the best way to do that.
Pretty much.
So, Twitter, a place for venting.
Exactly. So yeah, anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next week. So yeah, anyway, that's been the show, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember to jump over and subscribe we just got accepted onto Apple Podcasts and a bunch of other podcast services. So wherever you listen to us, jump over there, give us a 5-star rating, maybe comment. We'd really appreciate it. Remember, this has been the Pause, Rewind, Play podcast, and we'll see you next week.